The magic mask in the DaVinci Resolve color page gives me a very good AI-powered solution to quickly select both objects and people. But if I need very good quality detailed selections, I might have to do manual fixes at least, or might need to do some manual rotoscoping. And for this, Fusion has a very powerful tool set. So the Fusion Polygon tools and the Fusion Paint node gives me some more options compared to the color page to do really detailed rotoscoping. The best thing would be to combine both, get a quick solution from the color page if the quick solution is sufficient, or maybe as a preview solution, and then head over to Fusion if I need to do very detailed work, and then use the mask either in Fusion for compositing work or back in the color page for color grading if I need some very detailed masks for color grading. And that's exactly the workflow I want to explore in this video. This tutorial is not so much a how to do the magic mask or something like this. You find lots of tutorials on YouTube for that. This is more about the overall workflow and about an approach how to deal with complex masks, how to manipulate them in different ways. So I've selected a test shot which has different problems to solve, and let's have a look. Magic mask, object mask, polygon tool, mask paint, everything together. Let's get started. Here's my little test clip. This clip has some things which are easy, like the person has really good contrast, that's great. Other things like the screen, if you want to select this, has almost no contrast to the wall behind, or here the pen and the black printer behind. So there are things which are easy and other things which are complex in the same shot. Let me start from the color page and start with a very simple object mask. So I have the magic mask here open, and the first option since Resolve 18 is the object mask, and I will select something super simple, the calendar, and just on, it doesn't matter on any frame in this case, just draw across, and you probably, if you want the whole thing, probably draw across even further, like across different zones kind of where you see the contrast. Maybe use an additional stroke to get the bottom area. At the moment the highlight mode is on. This is why the mask is being previewed, and here I have an option to toggle between the mask and the mask overlay. So if I enable the overlay, I see the rest of the picture, which is sometimes easier. Then I can maybe add another stroke here to get the bottom. But against the gray background, it's sometimes easier to see how good the mask is. This mask is certainly not perfect, like here on the side and so on. It's not so great. And you might choose, you can try to denoise a bit, which often helps along the edges. You can try to shrink it a bit. In case of hard objects, sometimes you can get away with shrinking a bit. Shrinking the edge a tiny bit, and it can get a little bit better. But you know what, I'll just keep it the way it is, and I'll still do some fixes later if necessary. That's not the point of this tutorial. So I will quickly, from where I have drawn the strokes from this frame, track in both directions, in this case just backwards, but you can always click on this and it will automatically go in both directions to do the actual tracking of the mask across the whole sequence. And now I want to bring this mask to other areas. Now the color page typically is the last thing in the pipeline, so you do your editing and edit effects, and you can do Fusion and then do the color effects on top at the very end. Now we kind of need to go backwards and send it back. And the first thing to do is to get an alpha output from the color page via right-click, add alpha output. This gives you an alpha output and also allows you to render an alpha channel from the deliver page if you want. So you connect to the alpha output. If you want, you can go to the deliver page and render this out with the alpha channel. You just have to pay attention that you choose a file format which supports alpha channel. EXR, OpenEXR is a good option where you can export alpha channel. It creates very large files, but it's very good for VFX workflows. If you need smaller files, you can also switch to, let's say, a QuickTime export, but then don't choose like H.264, but something that supports alpha channel. One option is DNxHR with a 4x4 solution. This should have an alpha channel export And for ProRes, also the 4x4 ProRes also has alpha options for output. So not all file types support it, so you have to choose one which supports it. Anyhow, different topic. Let's jump ahead. I wanted to bring this to Fusion. I need to go via the edit page first. In the edit page, I see the alpha channel, and in theory, you could do compositing directly from the edit page. But I want to go to Fusion where I have more tools, so I will do a right click and create a new Fusion clip. Now, when I do this, two things happen. First of all, my alpha channel gets lost apparently. Actually, it's not entirely lost, you will see in a second. But the thing is, the clip from the color page, including the color grade, gets encapsulated, kind of, in a separate timeline, so to speak. So everything that you select and create the Fusion clip lives inside that Fusion clip, and in the edit page you can see it if you click open, right click open in timeline. So you see that Fusion clip. Inside that Fusion clip you can have multiple layers. I started with one just to keep it simple and to show you a problem that occurs. In this case, this clip here, if I go to the color page, it still has the color grade, it still has the magic mask, it still has the strokes, it still has the keyframes. If you go to the keyframe, you see the calendar again, but it lost the overall track. And this happens under certain cases when you copy grades from the magic mask, when you create stills from the magic mask, or in this case, when you do this encapsulation with the Fusion clip, it loses the overall track. The reason is that this overall track is being pre-rendered, and I think it's cached to disk. And well, there are probably some file size considerations why it's not automatically copied under certain circumstances. In this case, it's annoying, and I know people have complained about it. I'm currently on a beta version, 18 beta 4. I don't know if this gets improved by Blackmagic Design, but at the moment, this is the current behavior. So you just need to be aware, then you can easily circumvent it. So in this case, I can just track again, and if I know about it, I can be smart and I can create my Fusion clip first and then do the tracking afterwards. It's just something I need to know ahead of time. Otherwise, if I have forgotten about it, or if I've done other color grading and then say, oh, I need this in Fusion, just keep this in mind. You have to run the track again. There we go. And now if I go to the edit page, you see it's here. And if I go to Fusion, I need to go back to my original timeline, and from this timeline, go back to Fusion to see the Fusion composition of this Fusion clip. And you see here I also have the alpha channel. Now, I just demonstrated this with this simple calendar just once to demonstrate the overall flow and to keep things simple. Of course, I might want to send multiple masks over and maybe also the background. I might send other elements for compositing. And in this case, I would first create a Fusion clip with multiple layers and then send over whatever I want to send over. I also want to use this tutorial to show the different complications we have with masking and magic masking and so on. So let me actually do this. And I will just undo a few things that I have done. So I will undo this Fusion clip that I've created. And I'll have to start one more time. But I will copy this layer a few times. And I'm copying it with the grade at the moment. It doesn't matter. But I'm copying it 4 times on top of each other. And then create the Fusion clip, new Fusion clip. And what that does, if I open this, it encapsulates the 4 layers, right? And if I go from the original timeline, if I head over to Fusion, I see all the layers in Fusion being merged on top of each other. I just have, again, the problem with the tracking data. So what I need to do is, from the edit page on the Fusion clip itself, where I see the layers, on this clip, I'm going into the color page, where I can see the layers in the color page. I see everything 4 times. And here I will create the different masks. I can reset individual layers. So for the first one, clip number 1, I will just reset the entire grade. So it's gone. For the second one, I will, this was the calendar was already, I selected it. So I will just get the track again and keep this on the second layer for the calendar. And then on the third and fourth layer, I will get additional masks. So on the third layer, let me go for the third layer, and I will just reset the magic mask. So I'm keeping my alpha output, no need to do this every time. by just copying. I have copied it from the other grades, but I need to do the magic mask again, and I will do it for the screen one time. And this one is the more challenging object, because the screen, when you zoom in, you see that it's very tough to see where the screen ends and where the wall begins. So I would see the magic mask more as a first attempt. Give it a try. This looks like a terrible try, but nonetheless, it's a start. Try to get it like this, and maybe get the stand, maybe get some cables. And in this case, yeah, so this is kind of getting there, but let me try the better option. This tends to sometimes give a better mask, but also a softer mask, which has pros and cons, so it's not always better. So you see here, immediately it looks better, but we also get like some semi-transparent areas here, which is, well, we can probably fix it. But let's see if I can get the cables a bit stronger. Maybe I ignore one of these cables. Get the stand a bit stronger and this black ones here, okay. And then I'll try some negative strokes as well. You can here switch between plus and minus, or hold down Alt or Option to switch to negative and say, okay, I don't want this area. I try to get rid of this. And I know, I'm fully aware that this here won't work, but maybe I even embrace it and say, okay, as long as I get the cable, and let's try to get the cable. You can also move them once you have drawn them. Okay, once I get the cables, and this I will have to fix later with a polygon. So let's assume this is how I will approach this, and let's see how we are doing with the track. Yeah, so there is definitely some flickering and some stuff which is tough to get, and I can try to make it harder here, and try the denoise and all that kind of stuff. Or I might keep some of this for Fusion and then manipulate it further there. So right now I just keep it the way it is for the preview. Let me go to the last one, also reset the magic mask. And here I want to use the person, and I use the person mask, which tends to work well if you see like a face and a person which looks like a person. I have seen cases where the person mask was not as good as the object mask, even on a person. For example, in cases where people walk away from the camera, or like you see the back of the head, but you don't see a face. Or if you see like someone wearing helmet or fancy costume or something like this, sometimes it doesn't work so well. In this case, this is like probably the easiest scenario imaginable, someone sitting in front of the camera, looking to the camera. So this works quite well. Let's try again. If we click on better, yeah, it tends to get a bit tighter here, which is good. And I just stick to it for this tutorial, and we'll just track this. Now let's see what we have on the edit page, and I can check here inside the Fusion clip. If I just press D to disable them, I can check one by one. So the top selection is the person, underneath we have the screen, then we have the calendar, and at the end we have everything, the whole image as the background. You will see why I include the whole image in a second when I go over into Fusion. So on the Fusion clip, from the main timeline, go over into Fusion, and you see here all the layers come in automatically. And it's probably a good idea to label them and arrange them a bit. So this one here, I'll remove the merge nodes for now. I can manually do it again. So this one here is the original footage. And then we have here the calendar. And by the way, you can see the layers here and even switch them for the media in. So you see layer 1 is the calendar, layer 0 is the first track, which was the original. So this one was layer 0, this one calendar, and media 3 is the screen, and this is the person. All right. So we can do different things now. We can merge them together again, or we can use them as masks and mask out the original. I want to use the second approach, and the reason is that I might still change the mask, expand it, contract it. So I don't want to, if I do that here, if I expand it here, there are no RGB pixels around. So the color page automatically applies the mask, so there's nothing here. So if I want to extend this and get some hair back or something, then I would need to go back to the original. But that's easily done. And let's say, as an example, that I want to do compositing and clear out the background, like these cables and the printer, remove that, and instead put another background. So I will just create my own background, merge the original image over my own background here, and then use the mask input to mask out something, for example, the person. And I can attach this to the mask. And you see now here, the person is, well, over the mask, and I can bring it in like this. Attaching an RGB image to a mask input works mostly, but not for all tools. To make it absolutely clear, a good approach is to put in a bitmap node. What a bitmap node does is it takes the RGB image here from the image input, and it outputs a pure alpha channel. So if I bring the bitmap into the view, you just see one channel. You don't see the RGB channel. So it's absolutely clear that you're working with the mask and not with the color channels. So there's also no confusion what is actually being used here, right? So because here we have RGB and alpha, here we just have alpha. So it's probably a good approach to use the bitmap mask like this. And it also offers additional options. We can, for example, concatenate this with polygons. Let's say I want to bring in the table, which I haven't done with the magic mask. Would be very difficult, like the table, it's like behind the screen, there are lots of objects around, but it's very easy to guess where the table is. So that's something that would be very easy to do with a polygon. I just go on the frame 0 and start here with the table, guess roughly where it is. I can see here the line, and then here, yeah, well, we don't even see it. Actually, let me do the following. Let me also take the chair so that the guy is sitting on a chair, table and chair, so I'll combine it. And I'll go till here and just move here to the beginning of the chair, drag a bit for a rounded curve like this. So I have a polygon, oops, and close it. Oops, so this is my polygon. And after the bitmap, you can just add it into the flow. Shift, drag in, or connect manually. And then if you bring the polygon into the view, you see the polygon is automatically taking the mask from here and combining the masks. That works after the bitmap. It wouldn't work from here. You can't do this, right? Because it needs only a mask channel, and it's automatically merging the two together. Paint mode, merge to the polygon, whatever is coming in from here. So that's a quick trick. So this way I have the table. I can in Fusion, because I have my two viewers, it's very easy to check it again over the original image, check the media out result on the right side. So these things are much easier and faster than on the color page to compare these things. I can see the polygon individually selected and see where the line is. This wasn't ideal. And now I can animate it, and the camera movement is not too difficult. So I'll just go to the last frame, and on the last frame fix this. By the way, Alt clicking selects the nearest point if nothing is selected from the red selection here. So that's also a good trick. So you don't need to even be precise. You can just Alt click or Option click to get to the nearest point, deselect, go to the next one. So this way I've selected the table. If I deselect, you see maybe this is a bit too, yeah, it's a bit too high here. And it's maybe a bit too hard, so I will just make this polygon a bit soft and without touching the other masks, right? So we have these masks and only the polygon I've just softened a little bit. Let's see how it goes over the timeline, and I think maybe you need another keyframe in the middle, but I think for this demo it's good enough. So this way I have easily combined one mask with another, and then with a polygon tool combined the two together. Let me call the polygon, rename it table. So I have see easily which mask is which and can jump around quickly. So doing the same in the color page can be rather cumbersome. Once you have like 10, 15 masks, it gets rather annoying, which you can easily get if you want to do this like really in a nice way. Another thing that I can do in Fusion, which is more difficult in the color page, is I can manipulate masks selectively in some area, but not in the other area. So if I go to that person, for example, I might try to tuck in the mask a bit, like erode it, which tends to work well like on clothes because we don't see the edge that well. Like if the shoulder is like a few pixels further in or out, you probably don't see, but on the face it's often not working very well. The tool for this you can use in Fusion, a cool tool called Erode Dilate, which I get here from the Shift spacebar menu. Erode Dilate. It erodes and dilates RGB and alpha channel. I can totally ignore the RGB channel or turn it off if you want, but it doesn't make a difference. And I can use this to bring the mask in or out. And you see, if you bring it out, it gets black because of the RGB channel, but I'm only using the mask, so I can ignore the RGB channel. I can look at it here, or I can look at the bitmap tool here. Doesn't matter. And so here I can look at it with the background and adjust it accordingly. So in this case, I might want to try to go a bit in like this. And yeah, this works well here, but on the face, we are kind of cutting away from the eye. So maybe I don't really want to do that around the hair and the face, right? So we are getting away with it here, maybe even a bit more to get like the arm as good as we can. And here, no. All right, so I will just combine it with another mask. Very simple in Fusion, so just an ellipse mask, attach it here. With the ellipse mask, I'll select the face and narrow it down. So now, like this, and maybe I need to animate it in case the head is moving. No, it's not moving much, so I don't even need to animate it. So selected the face, and now I'm eroding the face and not the rest, which is the opposite of what I want. So I can either invert here, like here, that works, or I can go into the tool itself and apply the mask inverted. Apply mask inverted. Let me use this way because maybe I do something else on the face. Maybe I want to blur the mask a bit. And you know what? I won't do compositing over black. That would really require a very precise mask here. I will cheat a little bit and I will do a simpler compositing scenario here. I will look at the original image again, and I will use a background which is close to the original, so it's a bit easier and I don't need to get like every single hair detail and so on super fine. So I will do the following. I will use a gradient here as background, make it a radial one, and I'll select this, put this like towards the face where we have the biggest problem or where the biggest attention also, like there we want it as good as we can. So here I select this endpoint of the gradient and sample near the head, maybe on this side where we really look towards the eyes. So that's where I want the best solution. And yeah, let's do it the other way around. Sorry, this is the black, so it's radial from here. So I should go this way, start from here, sample near the face. So, and here I can use a different color. I don't know, maybe some blue from the image or so, or maybe more gray. I don't know. Make a bit of a grayish gradient like this. Now let me see if I can get this now not so hard. So I want to expand the mask a bit and like blur it a little bit. And I will use let me use the matte control tool for this. You may be familiar with it. So I put the matte control in before the bitmap. And here you can blur a bit, but that gets also some transparency inwards, but then you can also expand a bit, which goes like into the blurred area. It's different than the erode dilate. This one does like a hard expansion. This contract expand goes into the soft area. So if you blur first, then you can move a bit, expand into the blurry area. Or if you have a blurry mask to start with, this can expand the mask in that area. So this gives a much cleaner result on the face. Let's have a look at a few different frames. And it's not absolutely perfect here, but it's getting quite good. So far I have worked on the person mask and on the edit the table. I can now add in the other masks as well, and a clever way to do this is with the bitmap nodes again. Again, there is more than one way. You can merge them together, then work on them. You can work on the alpha channel only. So there are different ways depending on how your thought process goes. But the bitmap node itself can not only take an RGB channel, extract the alpha channel, and then allow you to combine with polygon nodes, but the node itself can also, like the polygon nodes, can also concatenate with this paint node. Let me show you. So if I add another bitmap node here and bring this in here, you will see that, well, now it's coming from the background. Let me change that. Let me add this as a mask and this as a background. Now this bitmap 2 here is now using this full RGB alpha image. From this image, it takes the channel alpha, it takes the alpha channel, but then it also combines it with the alpha channel here, and the paint mode works the same way as with the polygon node, so it's set to merge, and that's the reason why this mask now here combines the person, everything that's coming from here, combined with the screen, and then sends it onwards, adds the rest of the table, and so on. So that's another way of using the bitmap node. Again, there are different ways. You can use the matte control, you can use merges, but that's another way to add things in. Now the screen is having a hole. Let's quickly fix this. And once again, bitmap node if you like before, or you can add it afterwards. But again, I prefer to have the individual components kind of separated. So I have one area for the person, and maybe I even group it together, Control G, person, mask, maybe like this. And then I have another area for the screen. So in this case, perhaps I would even add another bitmap purely for the reason that I can add more masks here and still have them completely separated, and then have one logic where the different areas kind of fit together. So this could be one way, and here I would make another polygon mask on frame 0 and make sure that I get the screen. Let me look on the original image where the edge of the screen most likely is. And let me start, well, I can actually start from here, it doesn't matter. And let's see to where the screen goes. So here we have it a bit rounded, and then I think this white part here, I think it belongs to the screen. I think this is part of the screen if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so this definitely is, and here's the label. No, it goes till here. Here is the screen edge, so this is wrong. So let me put another point in the middle here. Okay, I think this might be the edge of the screen. It's really tough to see. And then let's expand again and go around here. And here I don't need to be precise. I just and even here the front edge is. We can probably take it from the mask, from the magic mask, or adjust it like this. Okay, let me get this done on the last frame, and all points are selected, so I can move everything, and then select a few points at once to move them around like this. Okay, and you can do it nicer than I did here. Quickly, but you see this is kind of filling in the edge here, and usually it's a bit too hard, so you might want to give a tiny bit of soft edge, not too much, like this. And then here, well, here we have like a lot of softness, so I would try to reduce this a bit, and we can use the bitmap tool that I have here before the polygon mask, and in this I can cut off the lower edge a bit to make this all a bit harder here and get rid of some of that semi-transparency. And on the other edge, I can fill it from the top as well and just make it all a bit harder. And then maybe again, add a tiny bit of softness. Yeah, so it's not completely hard. Now, this is not a perfect solution, and this cable here is almost lost, so I might need like more polygon masks or so to fix this further. But it is a significant improvement over the previous spline edit, and then we can fix it further, maybe remove the cables here or add them in or so they are flickering a bit, and fix the rest. One thing which I want to point out, rather than spending the next 2 hours here on making this absolutely perfect, instead I want to point out that with the magic mask, often you see this kind of flickering when from one frame to the next, it's not sure about the edge. So if it's happening everywhere, then, well, you can only replace it with a polygon. And in case of the screen, maybe I would replace the whole damn thing with a rotoscoping solution if I wanted to have it really in a good quality. But what you also tend to see is that sometimes, do we have it anywhere here? That sometimes you see something flickering up, like not on the object itself, but on the side. Now this is the cable, I know it should probably be there, but sometimes you see something which is there on one frame and only on a few frames and then gone. Now with the cable it's the other way around, but if you have this, if something flickers like just for 1, 2, 3 frames, you can again create masks and then animate them only for those frames and so on, but sometimes it can be faster to paint. And in that case you can add the mask paint node, mask paint. And it doesn't matter if it's a hole or if you have something extra. In both cases, you can use this paint to go onto individual frames and very quickly do some fixes on those few frames. So in this case, let me reduce the brush size to the cable here. If I want to fix this here on this frame, and again, this may not be the total solution for this cable, right? I can go in with the paint node and just on one frame kind of fill in the hole. Again, not the full solution here. I could reduce the opacity a bit to match it to the rest of the cable, but it's still a semi-transparent cable. So again, it's just to demonstrate the concept. But I can quickly go through the frames and quickly fix a few places if something like flickers up or if there's some hole which is only there on 1, 2 frames, maybe faster than working with polygon masks. Also, you can do this to fill, but you can also set alpha to 0, in which case you can use it to remove. So same tool, same concept. If you just have some problems on like 1, 2 frames or so, I'll just mask paint like this, or even on 10 frames, quickly go through, and fill it in. And if you have like a stylus and a graphic tablet, you will be even faster with these kind of things. I think this mostly sums it up about the masking and combining of masks, etc. Feel free to play around with this footage and see which areas work well with the AI solution and where you have to manually intervene. I want to point out a few more rather important things. First of all, keep in mind that in Fusion we often work with resolutions other than the timeline resolution. In the color page, you always get the timeline and you work on the resolution based on the timeline resolution. In Fusion, sometimes it's important to have higher resolution because we are scaling in Fusion or we are using the additional resolution for certain effects. Once you create a Fusion composition, that Fusion composition works based on the timeline resolution. So if you work with source media that is larger than your timeline resolution, than your intended working resolution, you might want to create a separate timeline, created based on the source media resolution and work there so that you can use the original media resolution in the Fusion clip. So in that case, I might create a separate timeline if my source media is larger so that I'm not sacrificing resolution while doing this. So then you have the higher resolution in the color page for the magic mask, etc. And then you have the higher resolution inside your Fusion comp and inside Fusion for your rotoscoping or paint fixes and can use that. That's one important thing to notice, so just create a new timeline if necessary. Another thing is, of course, we may do compositing in Fusion, or perhaps we need the mask somewhere else in the color page, for example. If it's in the color page, it's very easy to send it back. You can send out more than one media out. So the standard media out is what the color page gets immediately, and then you can add additional media out nodes from the Shift Spacebar menu, and either one for the whole mask or even for individual masks. Let's do it for individual masks, and I'll just add this media out. Let me rename this person mask out. So I already have person mask, so I just call it like this. So now I'm sending out the person. Here it is. That's how it looks like. Let me send out another one. Media out one. Oops, not media in, media out. There we go, media out. And I'll take it from here for another media out and call this, what is this? PC mask output. And you see the index here, index 2, so this is the second media out. You can manually set it, but basically the index 0 is the standard output to the color page, and then you can use additional higher numbers, index 1, index 2, for additional outputs in the color page, and you can use them in the color page. If I go over, you can just get them by adding additional sources, and this will automatically take the next Fusion output available. So this is now the index 1, the next one person mask output. If I add more, it will say PC mask out, and if I add even more, it will probably complain no Fusion output because I don't have a higher index available. So, but you can add as many as you are providing from Fusion. Let's do some drastic color change on anything. So here we go. And if I attach this to the mask, you see I can get my Fusion mask for the color manipulation, either this one or this one, based on the Fusion selection or Fusion mask manipulation. Last part, if you want to render masks, that might make sense if either for performance reasons, if you have like a lot of masks and combinations and so on, and you just want to pre-render this, you can do this directly in Fusion. In that case, I would just go on like the last mask node that you need. For example, if you want the combined one here, this bitmap 3, if you are using all of this combined, or here with the table, you could cache this to disk, right-click, cache to disk. So then you can save the mask to disk in your preferred Fusion format. So this is the standard disk caching in Fusion. You might also think about intentionally creating mask render files. This is quite common for VFX purposes, where you have like typically OpenEXR files with different masks in the same file, which is possible. If you want to do this, I won't go into details here. I will just point you towards the correct tools, because if you need this, chances are you are a bit familiar with these type of file formats. And I suggest that you look for a tool in Fusion Reactor where you can get additional community supplied tools. And there is a external matte saver. This is a standard tool in Fusion Studio. It's not a standard tool in DaVinci Resolve, but you can get it from Fusion Reactor. And this is a tool which basically works like a saver. You give a file name, or you browse and select a file name, and then you add your masks, and you can add as many as you want by going here to mattes, choosing alpha channel or RGB alpha, whatever you need, giving it name, and then you can add multiple. And whenever I click on plus, an additional input comes in, and I can save out an additional mask, and they will all go into the same EXR render sequence. Again, a little bit advanced, but if you are frequently working in VFX workflows and so on, and with other software, you are probably familiar with the concept of multi-layer EXR files, and this tool is one simple solution to get this. It's just not in the standard, but you have to get it from Fusion Reactor. So this maybe as an advanced hint for those of you who need this kind of stuff. I will leave it at this. So I started with the AI-powered mask from the color page, and if I want to, I can end up exactly there. The AI-powered solutions are good for preview purposes, for some quick and dirty kind of stuff, for some rough selections like rough color grading and so on. For detailed compositing, usually they are not good enough, and also depending on what objects you have, what contrasts you have, they may not be good enough. In this case, you can do a lot in the color page if you want. You can mask in the color page, you have polygons in the color page, but it can get quite cumbersome once you want to like connect multiple masks, select the mask, blur it on one end but not on the other. And once you do that kind of stuff, the color page can get more cumbersome than Fusion. And once you want to do things like paint and so on, then of course you have the tools in Fusion, and that's why I like the fact that we can combine it like this. And before you're asking, yes, I hope that Blackmagic Design someday gives us a magic mask in Fusion. I'm hoping for it, but so far it hasn't happened, so we'll see. Once it happens, I can probably delete this tutorial. Until then, I hope that was useful, and thanks for watching. Let me know what else you need or what questions you have, and see you next time. Cheers!